If there's one thing that Sonic fans are known for, it's porn and leaks. And well, something just got leaked. Sonic Frontiers is a game that came out a few years ago. I enjoyed it. I played it a couple of times, aka I beat it a couple of times. To say the least, I am a pretty massive Sonic fan, I would say. It's definitely my favorite overall media franchise of all time. And recently on Twitter, I saw a trend of apparently Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition being leaked. And it sparked a conversation amongst us Sonic fans, besides all the bickering and arguing over petty shit, to really sit down and think about what this might actually be. A Korean ESRB website, basically, they listed it as Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition. So this is a little bit different from just your average leak. Usually your average leak is followed by a lot of hearsay and a lot of, baloney sometimes. However, this is something that's occurred in the past that is pretty accurate, to say the least. More than likely, yes, this is definitely happening. What's curious, however, though, is that usually when Sega does these kind of editions for Sonic games, it's usually either a year after the game comes out or a few months after the game comes out. However, Frontiers came out in 2022. We're currently in 2026, so it's very weird for them to all of a sudden do this for the 35th anniversary, yet it's not surprising. Sonic Frontiers was the highest selling 3D Sonic game of all time, which is something to be considered. And it's an interesting question to ask, what could they possibly add to this game, or what could they patch to fix it and make it truly a definitive edition of the game? Now, me personally, I have a lot of things I want to talk about today, so this video might be a little ranty, it might be a little long, so just be prepared for that. So, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, hopefully not Defective Edition, but Definitive Edition. What am I personally looking for? One, the pop-in. They need to fix all the bugs and the glitches. I want to see this game get polished up nice and looking good like Shadow Generations. I want to see this game to be, the pop-in, gone. I want to see the animations not being janky. I want to make sure Sonic isn't, doing the thing on the ground where he breakdances for a couple of seconds because the animations got fucked up because of the geometry. Shit like that. If anything, the most important, stretched cutscenes, because by the way, there were a couple of stretched cutscenes for some odd reason. Sonic Team isn't really known for their polish, so I hope that when they make a definitive edition of a game, it means it's polished. But, asking for a polished Sonic game is like asking a crippled person to do a basketball dunk. I think my second biggest thing is I hope they take the content that was already in the game originally and put it back into the game. Now, what do I mean by that? During the final update of Sonic Frontiers, the Final Horizon update, all the characters became available to play. However, they weren't available to be played in the back half of the original game. It was almost like they intentionally made them separate. So where you couldn't play Knuckles, Tails, and Amy, you couldn't play the gang in the previous islands that you explore throughout the game. You were only available to play them in a specific version of the final island that was separate from the original final island. It was literally a separate ending. So I hope they kind of merge those two things together and make it more, a little bit more easier. Like I said, have the characters. That is the perfect. If you want my personal opinion, I think the perfect way to have replayability is to have the characters after you free them from their cages to be able to be played on the islands as or Sonic, whatever, continuously. So I'll give you a perfect example. The first island, you save Amy, for example. What if after you save Amy, she becomes playable? So then you can play the cyberspace stages and the island entirely as Amy or Sonic. And as the game progresses, you can build your roster of characters to be playable, and that would have a benefit of the characters being, just having more replayability. I mean, always more characters is more replayability if they're polished enough. I think that's step number 2. I think they should take the content that was already in the game originally and just use that. So you're not wasting assets. You're barely wasting any. You're just doing stuff. You're fixing up stuff. You're just tinkering with things, moving around stuff. I think that's step number 2. Now, will any of this really become true? We don't know. At the end of the day, most Sonic special editions never truly added too much. I think the only special edition of a Sonic game that truly added new content, was Sonic Mania Plus. Sonic Mania Plus did add 2 whole new characters with their own movesets, and I think new levels. It's been many years. I don't quite remember. So I think we need to have realistic expectations. You know, I don't think for a second they're going to do some crazy shit. Now they might. I mean, Sonic Team has been pulling some wacky stuff out of their sleeves within the past few years. They have impressed many people, including myself. I used to have no hope in Sonic Team at all whatsoever, and now I have a little bit more faith in them after I played Shadow Generations and Cross Worlds and Frontiers and even Superstars. I think Sonic Team has definitely regained their respect back, at least from me. Now, to regain their respect back from the rest of the fucking industry, I don't know. It's going to take a while. Let's move on to step 3, though. I think step 3 is to introduce Shadow. Now, I know what you're saying. I put Shadow in every game and it makes it 10 out of 10. No, I actually genuinely think that if it's possible, to bring over Shadow's playstyle from Shadow Generations, because it already means we already have a modern version of how Shadow should play, and a lot of people like it. Just, you know, transfer that version of Shadow over to Frontiers. Work around a few little tweaks. Maybe you have to increase some any health bars. Maybe you got to nerf some characters. You know, basic stuff that most live service developers do. Polish it, make it look nice. And then somehow or another, maybe, just maybe, tie Shadow into the story and make a good reason why Chaos Island was in Shadow Generations. I think that would be a great thing to do. Also, new cyberspace levels. If we do get cyberspace levels, they're going to be reused assets. I think everybody is very, very aware of that at this point. But I would love to see some new level design. I really, really enjoyed, and a lot of other people really enjoyed the level design of Final Horizon. Final Horizon came with its own levels, and they were distinct. They were way better. I'm talking way better than the original game's cyberspace. I mean, like, they kicked the ass of the original cyberspace levels in the game. Like, the DLC ones were fucking amazing. So, and I see a lot of people on Twitter saying that this might just be the game on the disc with all the content already on it. And it's like, that's already a thing. Because these patches were patches. They weren't separate DLCs that you had to buy. So it would be very strange for them to resell this and bring it back, and it's just, you know, all the stuff on the disc without a download. That'd be lame as fuck in my opinion. And now, of course, they're going to be releasing it on Switch too. I would hope so. Maybe it'll get a PS5 Pro support and have 120 frames per second. There's a lot of things they can do with this product, and I'm very interested to see what they're going to do. I don't want to say they're going to do the bare minimum, but we all know how Sonic Team is. We know how Sega is. Sega's very cheap. And we usually know how these anniversary years go for the Hedgehog. Unlike other game franchises who get really cool stuff on their birthdays, we have to wait a year after the birthday to really get a banger. That's how Sonic's been working for the past about 10 years, since about 2016 during the 35th anniversary. And since about the 35th anniversary, you know, it has been, not 35th, whoa, no, oh god, no, the 25th anniversary. Since the 25th anniversary, almost a decade ago, Sonic games that were made to celebrate the anniversary always came out the year after and not the year of. So more than likely, we're getting Frontiers 2 next year. We're getting the main meat. We're getting the juicy content next year. And this is going to be a filler year, of course. However, they don't just have to make it a filler year. They can definitely do a lot with this game, because if you want my opinion, and I've told many people this, and you might have heard this opinion online before, Sonic Frontiers has one of the highest potentials for a Sonic game. It really does. It has a lot of potential. It has a lot of wiggling room. It has a lot of space to move around and do new and interesting things. And I think Kishimoto, the director himself, knew that, because Kishimoto intentionally said that he was using Frontiers as an experiment to try out new things. Now, is that very professional in the AAA game publishing space? No, it's not professional at all. You shouldn't be testing things to your audience. You should be testing things internally. And if you are going to test things to your public audience, it should be polished, which was something that Sonic Frontiers was not. And of all things Sonic Frontiers was, it was great, amazing soundtrack, boss battles, bombastic as hell, some Metal Gear Rising shit. You know, the cyberspace levels were pretty mediocre. The story was actually interesting and engaging. It sold a butt fucking ton. Like, there was a lot of great about Sonic Frontiers. However, the polish, I think, no, the polish was not there, man. I'm a big Sonic fan. I can jerk off a Sonic game. I can wank a Sonic game off, man, but no. The polish was not there for Sonic Frontiers, and that's okay. The polish for Sonic Frontiers not being there is okay, because that gives us space to polish it up and make it look nice. So, what do I think Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition is going to be? Well, if you want to ask the asshole / realistic side of me, I will tell you that it's probably going to be a patched, updated version of the game that's going to release on Switch 2 and PS5, and it's probably going to have the bare minimum updates. It'll probably have mostly just polishing up the graphics and making it look prettier. And if you're asking the fanboyish, excited part of me, then I'll tell you that we might actually get new content and it might actually be worthy replaying again. If it's just an optimization patch, if it's just re-releasing the game and having everything in the game be a little bit more accessible, and maybe have all the little DLC skins and stuff be available, and it's just really truly just just an optimized, polished version of the game, I will be thoroughly disappointed. And if it costs full price and I'm not rebuying the game again, if it comes out and it's like $10 and it's just a big old tickle patch of the game, maybe. So I'm hoping for the best, though. I have high hopes for Sonic nowadays, which is something I don't think I've been able to say for a very long time as a Sonic fan. I love you nerds, I really do. Y'all piss me off all the time on Twitter. If you follow me on my pages, you would know that I get into scuffles with the Sonic community a lot. I say a lot of hot takes on Twitter. I do. I'm a Sonic fan, but I'm not a Sonic YouTube channel. However, when news comes out that I'm interested in talking about with Sonic, I'm willing to sit down and talk to you guys about Sonic. I do want Sonic to be a big part of the, not really a big part, but a pretty known part of the channel. I do want Sonic fans to be welcomed here, and I want you guys to be interacting with me. I'm willing to talk about Sonic with anyone. I love this series a lot. However, like I said, I'm angsty when it comes to the Sonic community, man. I know who you guys are. I've been on the internet for a long time. So, anyways, besides that, though, I hope Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, or, hopefully not Defective Edition, is going to be great. I hope it's going to be fun. Maybe there'll be new content, and even maybe it'll get it revealed at an Xbox event that's supposedly happening on March 26th of 2026, which today is the 25th. So we'll see tomorrow what it's going to be. However, though, that's all I have for today. So expect more Sonic stuff in the future, possibly. I don't know. Check out the shorts and all that great stuff. And I'm gonna stop, jerking off my other channels. And you get it. Anyways, yeah. So see ya.